The new NBA and MLB season is in full swing, and BetOnline has you covered with the best odds and biggest promotions and live in-game betting on all your favorite teams. Head to BetOnline today to stay updated on all the action. BetOnline, the game starts here.
When I'm hungry and at the grocery store looking for something to eat, I have a lot of choices. But I'm picky, so finding the right meal is harder than you might think. Obviously, it has to be affordable, and in this day and age, that alone is a tall order. I want it to be delicious, but I guess it should also be nutritious because, let's face it, I only have this one body. It should be available in several different varieties and have not one, but two founders. Ideally, both of those founders should have been born in Italy in the 1800s, also known as clip-clop times. Now, I'm going out on a limb, but I would prefer it if they both also eventually moved to New Orleans. And this might sound weird, but I think it would be best if they both started very similar businesses, which they would run separately for many years, until they realized that together, they might be able to create a beloved brand that offers wholesome convenience and quick and satisfying meals for people all around the world. And this might sound weird, but I think it would be best if they both started very similar businesses, which they would run separately for many years, until they realized that together they might be able to create a beloved brand that would offer wholesome convenience and quick and satisfying meals for people all around the world. And last, but certainly not least, it should be a brand that started exactly 100 years ago. Because after all, this is our very special 100th episode. And that's why this week's On Brand is on Progresso.
We're all jazzed up, really having a cow. You want your favorite show and it's on right now. It's on brand.
I did not. Welcome to On Brand with Jon and Marisa.
I'm Jon.
I'm Marisa. I did not see that coming.
What were you thinking?
I don't know. I was part of me was like, is it Aldi, Trader Joe's? But then they joined forces.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
You know, when you decide to look at brands that were created in 1925, and I'm going to give a quick shout out to
Google,
to Google for one, and to brand freak Mandark, who suggested in our Discord that it might be a fun thing to do for our 100th episode, was a brand that was 100 years old, which is Delta. I think Chrysler. There weren't many. And then I looked at foods and I saw Progresso and I was like, okay. Did a quick little tappity tap. Two families came together to create this wholesome soup.
Oh my gosh. At the mention of soup, Al is absolutely chubbing.
Yes, he does enjoy making soup that I don't eat.
Too chunky.
Too chunky.
Right out the gate, I want to apologize for the tonality of my voice. I caught a cold at the thing.
You caught a cold at what thing?
I caught a cold at the thing.
What? I don't know what this means.
I caught a cold at the thing, Jon. The thing, the thing, the thing. The movie, the thing.
You went to the... Oh, I forgot you guys went to the movie The Thing.
You were invited. You couldn't make it.
Right.
We went to a screening of The Thing at... I didn't know what it was until... This is how much I didn't know. I thought it was Swamp Thing.
No, babe.
This is how much I didn't know until we got there. The Academy Museum. What was it, Al? The Academy Awards Museum. Something or other. They have a screening room. Our friend Shep, friend of the pod, friend of our lives, hooked us up with this. You can just go and see a fantastic movie, not Swamp Thing, which may be better. I don't know. Never seen that either. In 4K or something, like a super screen. And it was really fun. And guess who we saw there?
Dolly Parton.
I wish. She's still mourning.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, she has been making public appearances since like the hour after he died. Like,
girl gotta work.
Definitely.
You know, when I pass, you better be wearing a black veil for 1 year to follow.
1 year?
1 year.
When I pass, as I always like to say, I do not want anyone to celebrate my life. I want people to mourn for 2 weeks every year.
Okay, 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Anniversary of your death or birthday?
the week leading up to the anniversary of my death and then the week after. The whole week leading up to it, I want them to like just know that it's coming and be really sad and not be able to focus. And then it happens. And then a week after, just
a week of taking to the bed.
Sobbing.
We saw none other than the Doughboys themselves.
Oh my God.
I thought you were going to say how excited you were to see the director of the movie you were there to see.
John Carpenter was there.
And Bong Joon-ho.
And Bong Joon-ho, who directed Parasite.
Got it.
So that was, I was more excited.
I mean, I would be more excited. I don't, like, what am I going to say to the director of Parasite?
They did a little Q&A before.
The Doughboys did?
Mitch and Weiger got up there and talked about their favorite movie, The Thing. John Carpenter, famous director. He was interviewed by Bong, who directed Parasite. They did a Q&A before, which was very fun. And I have never seen The Thing. There were a lot of Thing heads in the audience and a few spoilers coming out of this Q&A, which is, I guess that's my bad, because like Bong would ask a question like, that scene where the head falls off. And I was like, bup, 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 haven't seen it.
I mean, most people that go to an anniversary screening of a movie that's being shown in some sort of like high def thing
Bup, bup, bup,
have seen it.
No spoilers.
You're like, where's the swamp?
That's right. Honestly, I was walking the stairs to enter the theater and going, wait, there's no swamp.
That happened to me. My friend invited me to see a show at the Pantages. She invited me to see Billy Elliot. And I was like, oh my God, I love Billy Elliot.
And she's like, you do?
And
nobody does.
This is Stephanie. And we went, and like halfway through, I'm like, I do not remember a lot about Billy Elliot. And then I went to the bathroom, and I was scrolling. I was number 2, and so I had time.
This was before medicine.
So I had time to look at my phone, and I was scrolling, trying to figure out why it was so different. And I was thinking about the movie
Billy Madison
about a boy.
Oh, that's a much different movie.
And I was like,
love that movie.
Who doesn't? I was like, when does the Hugh Grant character come into play?
What's with all this dancing around?
What's happening here?
That is hilarious.
I felt shamed that I didn't know.
This was a really fancy place. It was it's like the Academy Museum. I feel like, did somebody say they had a little ET there? Did I make that up? Maybe I was just hoping maybe I would see a little ET around the corner.
Well, there is an Academy Museum.
This is where it was.
Right.
I didn't see the museum part, but it was a very fancy place. And whenever I'm in a place kind of dignified, I don't know if it's subconsciously I think to rebel or I just am not aware. But I saw Mitch, we were in this like glass kind of like breezeway overhang like sky tunnel. And Mitch was walking down below like in a little pass through to get into the theater. And I yelled, Mitch, like as loud as I could so he could hear me from like 100 feet away.
Yeah.
And then afterwards I was like, people are looking like, why are you hollering like a fool?
Did he act like he didn't know who you were?
No.
Was he like, oh, I think you're thinking of somebody else. No, I don't eat Taco Bell.
Fortunately, he was able to spy me from way up high. And then a Weiger came in after too. So The Thing is one of Mitch's favorite movies, like top 20 favorite movies. So he was really excited to be there.
That's good to note next time.
And then I got sneezed on by some dork and now I have a cold.
Do you actually remember the sneeze?
No, but some dork was like, oh, I feel cold coming on, but I do have tickets to The Thing. Oh, it, I'm just going to go.
You get sick every time you go out. I took you to Lord and you got COVID. Like you can't leave the house. I almost never got sick and then I got sick through. God, I'm like hiccuping. I'm sick now. We're trying to sit very far away from each other. I'm leaving the town tonight.
Leaving the town?
Yes, I'm leaving the town tonight. So I'm trying not to get sick from you.
Sure, that's fair. And then our following episodes, we're going to record some remotely, which we've never done before. But you're going to be in Ohio, so there will probably be some fun local action going on.
Yeah, so you'll just have to bear with us. So, as I said in the open, 100 episodes. Can you believe it?
I can't.
Like, it's really unreal.
Unprecedented for any podcast to make it to 100
Nobody's
episodes.
ever done this many shows before. So we are definitely, what do they say, breaking that ceiling.
We're busting through.
Crossing that line.
My head is bleeding from hitting this ceiling.
So what I thought would be fun before we get into Progresso, which is a doozy of a story, is if each of us take however long it takes and reflect on our personal 100 favorite moments of the last 2 years. You go first.
The one that I will think about and laugh is how hard you laughed about the basketballs in Converse.
Yeah.
Going door to door.
That was definitely a changing point.
That felt like a big tipping point, the
Because
first
I
big
was
giggle.
very excited about the research and just the whole how much he had put into it, and you just could not have given a crud about it.
No, it didn't give two farts.
99 more.
99 more. Let's
and
see.
then I'll do my 100.
I love your reenactments. I love it all. I mean, in full sincerity, I'm proud of us. We've made it to 100 episodes, and I'm really grateful for this community.
I am
their
too,
support.
in full sincerity. Well, 99% sincerity. I also am. I mean, and we're going to have our 2 year. The thing about 2 year, it's like, that's like probably episode if you do 52 shows a year. It's
like
in
coming
4
up.
episodes.
You're going to hear us being sentimental and sincere in like 2 weeks.
Well, it can be our sentimental spring.
Sure.
That'll be fun.
Our tears will water the tulips that are soon to be in bloom.
I love it. So Progresso. So yes, I definitely did. What did you?
I just noticed your bling string.
I'm wearing my bling string. I mean, we don't really show video very much from On Brand, but I'm wearing my bling string for the 100th anniversary.
Absolutely dazzling.
It's incredible. It's really one of the best things I own. Thank you to J HUD for allowing me to pay $12 for it.
Very generous.
With absolutely no discount. But Progresso. So, it's like I was trying, Progresso is in a way, I'm not really a canned soup boy. I prefer, if I get soup, I'll get like the refrigerated soups or the Panera refrigerated soups. I'll get like the hot soups in the hot bar at a grocery store.
Mr. Moneybags.
No, I just get like half a cup because it's like $14 a pound.
Will you scoop self-serve from the hot bar soup?
No, I bring my assistant to do that. You think I'm going to touch a common ladle?
I just, for some reason, I imagine those are just like half pee.
What?
Like, they just seem so unsanitary to me.
As we've said, Marissa's not totally at her best right now. You think people go into Gelson's, open the soup lid.
You know what someone got in my head about?
What?
This is why I don't like the internet. I had never had this fear before. When you go to a hotel or like an Airbnb and it'll, instead of having like an individual shampoo, like for a little bottle, it'll be like a bulk thing that you pump.
Yeah.
Somebody was like, oh God, I never use those. And I was like, what? And this was somebody on Instagram. Because people will take them off, unscrew the big thing from the wall, and they'll pee in it.
I don't get the fascination of people just wanting to urinate in things.
Apparently.
I've also,
Apparently,
well, no, that's off-brand talk.
What?
Bring up this conversation, and hopefully I'll remember what I'm. No, it's definitely off-brand talk.
Okay.
It's not on-brand talk.
Well, when I worked at a tanning salon, people would frequently pee in the trash cans. One man pooped in the trash can habitually, which was a problem. But people would pee in the trash cans. I remember hearing people pee. I may have talked about this
All right,
before.
this is the 100th
people
show.
pee in dressing rooms a lot. People pee in hot bars at Gelson's in the
I want to talk
cream
about
of chicken
soup. This is a 100th episode. You can have your pee poo poo party. And the funny thing is, we're actually recording this in the 99th slot, but we're jumping ahead.
That's true.
So
That's
if
true.
something happens and we can't record, this will actually air on the 99th episode, and people will just think we're silly.
Sure. Or if there's breaking Progresso news, we're not able to update it
All the cans are being recalled
for too much piss.
So okay, we're not. You already ruined my Skyline episode with your dirty talk. You're not doing it with the 100th episode.
We're back.
You can do it all on your own episodes. That's the fun thing about having our own. So my mom loves Progresso soup.
Oh, what
Split
flavor?
pea is her favorite. Split pea.
Split what?
Go on, keep talking.
I love split pea soup. That's it. That's my period. End of sentence.
Yes, it's a good soup.
It's a really good soup, and it's not chunky, which works for you.
No, it's very smooth. I like matzo ball,
Yeah, you do.
clam chowder.
Now we're talking.
So you're too good for a grocery store hot soup.
No, not too good. It's just I think this. We've talked about this before. That's how they get you. That's how they get you.
You keep throwing these things out that I have no idea. You keep making these declarations where I'm like, oh, right, that's how they get
like
you.
a
What
salad
does that
bar or
mean?
like a hot bar at a grocery store where you think like, oh, I'll just get a little bit and it's a deal, and then somehow it's like $49. Do you know what I mean? We've talked about this hot bar at like Gelson's or Whole Foods like that. I feel like the soup there too, you get tricked by it's more expensive than you think. And the refrigerated soups, yes, better quality.
Yeah.
Is a can of soup still like 89 cents?
Like I said, I'm not a canned soup guy. I'm sure that there's a wide variety of
Sure.
ranges. I'm sure you have the in-store brand. I'm sure if you Campbell's condensed soup around Thanksgiving, they usually have those 2 for $1. You
The
can get
Rouse soups, you had one of those out recently, right? Those, I feel like those are like quite expensive.
6.
6?
I have
6?
not bought those.
In this economy, oy vey.
Hi, this is Chris Howard, host of Plugged In with Chris Howard. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for all your sports betting action. BetOnline has more ways to stay in on the action with the latest odds, news, scores, even live in-game betting while the games are being played. With a large selection of odds on everything from Major League Baseball, NHL, and UFC, and professional golf, BetOnline remains the number one source for all your sports wagering info. In between games, head over to the BetOnline's casino with all the top Vegas-style games, including poker and live casino. BetOnline, the game starts here.
If you're looking to streamline your audio advertising buys and maximize your revenue, look no further than Triton Digital's programmatic audio advertising exchange, A2X. The private exchange consists of only licensed broadcasters and top-tier internet radio publishers, assuring the quality inventory and brand safety you can trust. Visit www.tritondigital.com to learn more.
Okay, so with Progresso, I mean, we all know that it's basically, everyone just thinks of it as a soup. I knew nothing about it going into this. What I learned, it's really a story about family.
Oh.
And if we're going to talk about those families, we have to go way back to Clip-Clop times, to the late 1890s.
We might have to give Al some coconut so he can just do it live.
Yeah.
Foley style.
So we have this guy, Giuseppe Uddo. He grows up in a small, like, Sicilian village in Italy, about 25 miles from the Mediterranean. He's the oldest of 6 kids. And after he finishes the 3rd grade, he quits school to help support his family. We love it when this happens. We love it when a child gets an olive and goes around the neighborhood and tries to sell it. And that's exactly what this guy does.
I also like a kid, a 3rd grader going, you know what? I think I'm done with school. And the parents being like, great, get to work.
Yeah.
Bust your ass.
I mean, that's how it was back
was a
then. I mean,
different
people
time.
usually died by the time they were 50. So
Yeah.
you got to get started when you're 9.
3rd grade was pretty old.
Yeah. So he decides to start supporting his family by selling goods out of literally a horse-drawn cart.
Aw.
So cue the clip and the clock. He was 9 years old. He starts selling olives and cheeses in Salemi, which is the town that he lived in, and he would go around to nearby towns and sell also. And he was called, very similar to what we would call it today, a venditor, which was a traditional Sicilian vocation, basically just a street vendor.
A street vendor,
A
wow.
walking salesman,
That's
a travel
cool.
salesman. So, and this is how Giuseppe grows up. And when he's a young man, he goes on a trip and he meets a man also named Giuseppe, last name Taormina. And he's a very successul food merchant, and Taormina takes a liking to Uddo in a very platonic,
way. He's still 9 at this point.
He's early 20s now.
Okay, good.
But he introduces him to his daughter, Eleonora, and at 24 years old, they get married. Now, Taormina has a bunch of relatives that live in New Orleans, and what he knows about that town is that there's a growing Italian community there. And everyone is clamoring. It kind of reminded me of Skyline with the Greeks in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
So you have like this population of Italians in New Orleans, and they're really just missing like the foods that they had when they were home. So it's a great place to set up a business if you can bring in Italian imports. So, and he already has one relative there doing that. His name is Vincent, and he has built a small like import foods business in New Orleans and a small little grocery store.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so Uddo and Eleonora decide to go to New Orleans. They sail, which I love because, I mean, come on. You talk, it's like Pottery Barn, spring catalog Pottery Barn. You're buying a little wooden boat, living the life. They leave.
2 years later, they
Exactly.
arrive.
They leave Palermo in 1908, and 7 years later, they get to the docks of New Orleans.
Anytime I'm like, if my flight is delayed like 30 minutes or whatever, I'll remember that my ancestors had to like hunker down for 8 months.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm gonna leave for Ohio tonight at 10 o'clock, and I will be there 4 hours later.
Crazy.
And it's
Crazy.
1,900 miles. And back in the day, that would have taken 16 years.
In your
I think.
covered wagon.
Whenever I hear people sailing, I also always think of that very noble young lady, Greta. I forget her last name.
Thunberg?
Yes,
Yes.
'cause
She only sails.
Yeah, she only sails. Like they're like, we want you at the Academy Awards. She's
Like, great, I'll hitch a ride on a garbage barge. I'll be there in April.
open heart. We love her.
Yeah, we love her.
You don't love Greta?
We love her. She's a bit of a sourpuss.
Oh my God. Well, I admire her stances.
Do you think she's like sneaking on the fly, like going around the world on an airplane?
Yeah, I'm
in a
sure she
disguise?
probably has a Lear jet that she doesn't tell anyone about. No one has discovered that yet.
Fake beard.
So Uddo and his wife, they move into a crowded apartment in the French Quarter. It was dubbed Piccola Palermo, which just means Little Palermo. They share a toilet with the other residents. They're hanging out their laundry, just to give you a visual, out in the courtyard. It's very humble living. Giuseppe gets a job with one of Eleonora's brothers, Francesco Taormina, who also had an import business. Basically, anyone from Italy seemed to have an Italian import business.
Wow, that's fun.
But Francesco ends up having to return to Italy to fight in the army, so he has to shut down his business. Eleonora has these other cousins who are food merchants, and they hire Giuseppe to work in their warehouse. And he does that for a while. And then Christmas Eve, 1909.
Uh-oh.
It's 836 days before the tragic sinking of the Titanic, but that's not important. And this day is important to Giuseppe. So let me just set the scene. It's Christmas Eve, so the holidays are in the air, but it's New Orleans, and the temperature that day had reached a lovely 69 degrees. Giuseppe is in the warehouse, excited to finish for the day and spend the holiday with his family. Him and Eleonora now have 2 beautiful young children. And he's getting ready to leave, and his boss comes over. Giuseppe didn't think much of it. He assumed he just wanted to wish him a Merry Christmas, which he did. Merry Christmas, Mr. Uddo. Thank you, sir, and Merry Christmas to you and yours, Giuseppe replied. Yes, thank you. Thank you. His boss didn't walk away, though. Is there something else, sir? I've also chosen not to do Italian accents for any of these people.
That's very respectful of you.
Giuseppe asked. Mr. Uddo, I'm afraid I have some bad news. I hate to do this on Christmas Eve, but I've really been left with no choice. We're out of money, Mr. Uddo. Out of money, sir? Out of money. What does that mean, sir? Well, would you like the long story or the short story? Give me the short story. Today's your last day, Mr. Uddo. I'm sorry. I see. Giuseppe leaves work for the last time and heads home through the French Quarter. It's dark out, and now it's a brisk 45 degrees. The streets are full of clips and clops, and people dash around getting last-minute things done before Christmas. Now, to say he was feeling low would be an understatement. He had a family to think of, after all, but he didn't want to ruin Christmas for them with this news. Well, I'll tell them the day after, he says to himself. He was lost in thought, and he made his way down the street until he literally crashes into a man headed in the opposite direction. The ruckus startles everybody. A nearby horse rises up on its leg and neighs. He half-heartedly apologizes. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Sensing Uddo's dismay, the stranger asks him what's wrong. Uddo not only lays out his tales of woe, but he talks about his hopes and his dreams of owning his own importing business. And when he finishes, the man smiles. Well, Mr. Uddo, that certainly is bad luck. But let me introduce myself. The name is Cusimano, and I own a macaroni factory. So I know a little bit about the food game, and I know a little bit about the business game. And Mr. Uddo, I'm going to help you start your own business. Giuseppe was speechless. It was a literal Christmas miracle. So
wow.
So Cosimo supplies Giuseppe with all the things that he's going to need to get started. He gives him olives and cheeses and tomato paste, and Giuseppe and his wife, they spruce up and relabel everything to make it look how they would like it to look. And he's ready to strike out on his own, but he doesn't have any way of transporting anything. So he goes back to Eleanor's cousins who were going bankrupt, and he's like, listen, guys, if you're going to lose all your money, and you're going to fire me, by the way, can I have your horse? And they're like, you can't have the horse, but you can buy the horse. So Giuseppe borrows some money.
When your job is ending, do you typically ask, like, give me that printer. Give it to me. You're firing me. What do you care? Give it to me.
Ask. No. When my job's ending, I'm one of those people that they should shut my email down immediately and take my key card away, because I will take whatever I can as quickly as possible.
I love that.
These are different times, though. He doesn't have a car. He needs this guy. He grew up selling things on a horse. That's what he knew.
These are his roots.
So he gets a loan and he buys this horse, and he names him Sal.
He names him Soup.
Okay, so now he has everything he needs and he's off. He would pack everything up and he would ride off at about 3 a.m, travel to Italian farming communities outside of New Orleans. And according to his son, the roads were terrible and the mosquitoes were so big you could put saddles on them.
Oh.
I'm assuming that is accurate and true. And he would be gone for like 3 days at a time. He would come home, he would repack everything and go out again. I mean, he was just like a hustler.
It's on the move.
His business becomes so successful that he's able to move from clip-clop times to vroom-vroom times.
Oh.
He's able to buy some trucks to make the deliveries, and
Nice.
Sal is able to enjoy a lovely horse retirement.
The horse was promptly shot.
The
and
horse
eaten.
was put down and turned to glue, which they used to adhere the labels to their tomato paste. So he buys a small warehouse and opens a little grocery store in the French Quarter. The family moves upstairs, which is very reminiscent of H-E-B, and Dr. Bronner's, I believe, also did that back in the day. It was kind of just a full-on operation. You would get a place, and it would be half business, half
Pleasure.
living quarters. Yeah, half business, half sexed in. And then just before World War I breaks out, he takes this really odd and big risk. He takes a loan out and purchases 3,000 cans of tomato paste.
Wow. We got to run that one by the wife.
Well, I'm sure she babe, so here, listen.
If my husband came home.
She's like, you're spending all of our money on tomato paste? He's like, no. We don't have any money. I'm going to borrow money to buy these 3,000 cans of
On the brink of a looming world war.
Yes. I just have a feeling about it. But the gamble ended up paying off for him because after the war started, an embargo is placed on closing Italian ports. So people we can't get anything from Italy in, and he's got this huge stockpile.
Wow.
And he makes so much money during this time that he's able to bring his entire family to live with them in New Orleans.
Oh my
He brings both of his
gosh.
parents and his sisters. He just really rakes it in.
That's lucky.
I know, right? I definitely, if war is coming, stocking up on
Parmigiano Reggiano.
Parmigiano Reggiano. I just like at home. I'm just in a
Yes.
bunker with like 3 wheels of Parmesan cheese. It's like me when I buy like extra signed copies of like Taylor Swift and then they release a bunch more and then mine are worth nothing. And I'm
Yeah.
like, cool, I have 9.
Has that happened to you, John?
I guess that's not my retirement home. I mean, not 9, but yeah, more than
More than
one.
More than your share.
So he brings his entire family in, and instead of giving him salaries, he makes everyone a stockholder. For some reason, he's not a fan of like paying people weekly, but he wants everyone to be a part of the company and feel ownership of the company.
I remember doing that like you are in a short film and they say like, when we sell this short film, you'll get paid.
Oh, yeah. We're not going to pay you, but we'll give you points on this tiny short film that has no release plan.
Uh-huh.
So the whole stress of the like World War I thing was really an aha moment for him. And he realized that if he could take away the dependency of having to get these things from Italy, he would just have more control over his future. So he wanted to start producing things. So after the war, he buys a factory in California and starts manufacturing tomato paste. And he gets his brother, he had his brother back in New Orleans running the grocery store. He has him come out to run this plant. And the cannery is the first of its kind in the country. No
Wow.
one, like, that's one of the things I learned when I do these things. Like, I find pictures of, like, I see that he opens a grocery store, and I'm like, in my head, you can't help but picture what you know. Sure,
Yeah.
I picture like a small grocery store,
Yeah.
but I came across a photo of it, and I'm like, oh, it's old. It's like, it's a shack, like the H-E-B one. Like, it's like, they have the things, but it's like a room with just a bunch of things. And that's what this is like. So they didn't have tomato paste then. So having it manufactured in America was the first time that had happened. And the California factory starts producing just more than they're able to even sell.
Wow.
So they just have this surplus of tomato products.
My mom has a cute story about tomato paste. Once she was on a date with a boy and she was making him dinner.
Yeah.
And she didn't have tomato sauce. She was making like spaghetti meatballs. She didn't have tomato sauce. So she was like, tomato paste. Okay, that'll be fine. Or she went to the grocery store, made exclusively with tomato paste. And it was like inedible. Had to use like 10 tiny cans to make a pot of sauce.
I feel like that is similar to my brothers and I once we were having cereal and had run out of milk. And we just assumed that any liquid was the same. So we put water in it. And it was just not great. But then other people will just innovate. They'll be like, oh, just do this and this. And it's like something amazing.
Yeah, I think half and half works in a pinch for cereal. Quite decadent.
That's very rich. It's like a milkshake. It's like a blizzard.
Yeah, it's like a blizzard.
It's like a Dairy Queen blizzard. All right. So like I said, they're making more tomatoes than they can sell in Louisiana. So now I want to cut back to Vincent Taormina, who I brought up earlier. He was like the distant relative who had moved to New Orleans before Uddo and his wife even went there. And he's there, and now he has set up a grocery store with his family called the Taormina Brothers Grocery Store, and they're having literally the exact opposite problem.
Wow.
They're selling more tomatoes than they're able to produce.
Oh.
I mean, it couldn't be more fortuitous.
Match made in heaven.
Match made in heaven. So Giuseppe and Vincent merged their companies together to create, not Progresso, the Uddo Taormina Corporation.
Doesn't quite roll off the tongue the same way.
This is 1925, and this is considered the beginning of Progresso because it's the company, spoiler, that will make it. But that's where we get the 1925.
I want to be surprised.
100 years ago, this very day.
Oh my gosh.
Probably not. All right, so they start this new company. Now these two families have come together, and Uddo really is interested in tapping into new markets outside New Orleans. He knows New Orleans is not the only place that's going to have a large Italian population. So he sets his eyes on New York. According to him, there's more people in New York than there is in all of Rome. And it just so happens who is in New York but another Vincent Taormina Jr.
Wow.
Vincent's son.
Oh, cute.
So Vincent...
He sounds hot.
I don't know if I looked up a picture. I agree. He does sound hot.
I mean, he's in New York.
He's the
Italian,
junior, he's not old, probably.
Yeah, which we know doesn't help.
I did see a picture of Vincent Sr., not hot.
Okay.
I did see a picture of Uddo. Okay, young, not hot old.
I mean, according to you, we'll let the people decide.
No, I think everyone's going to agree with me. Not hot old. All right, so Vincent Jr. is in New York, and he's working with his cousin Frank and a couple of other cousins, and Giuseppe calls them the Taormina boys. And he kind of becomes the Cusimano of this whole situation. So you've got these guys that are struggling and trying to figure it out. He's very successful at this point. So he comes in, he joins forces with them, he gives them the capital that they need and the mentoring they need, and helps them build up this business. And it does really well. And now these families are really just becoming intertwined in so many different ways. And even more so when Vincent Jr.'s cousin Frank ends up marrying Uddo's daughter, Rose.
Oh my gosh.
So now the families are not only like intertwined with business, they're literally have become like this one big family.
It's a family affair. Boy, I bet that was a hell of a wedding.
Oh my God.
Can you imagine?
Instead of rice, they're just throwing handfuls of tomato paste. pasta, maybe the macaroni.
Yeah, maybe
Cusimo
macaroni.
came in.
Sure.
Uddo, I'm going to donate the macaroni for you to toss at
You
your...
pay for the wedding. I'll provide the macaroni.
I got the macaroni.
Oh, boy, I'm
Sir,
sure-
we don't actually... I got the macaroni.
I'm sure that was a hell of a spread.
Sal was the ring bearer,
Aw.
clip-clopping down the aisle with the little rings around his... That's fantasy.
Yeah,
I couldn't tell. You
I
felt
know.
like... I felt like you felt like that was real.
I was imagining, how would the horse carry the ring? Braided into its tail?
In his... holding it in his big yellow teeth. He accidentally clips through its horse teeth.
Get this horse
terrify
a
me.
Crest White strip.
Have you ever been around a horse tooth?
Yes,
They're
unfortunately. Horses are
terrifying.
so they're so gorgeous and majestic, magnificent until they open those mouths.
Yeah, and when it's just their lips and flapping around, and you see those big yellow chompers.
Yeah.
Horses. Now that you say that, I do feel like horses are very complicated because from a distance or in a painting, you're like, wow, a horse. But then up close, you're like, flies in the eyes, yellow teeth,
Quite goopy.
goopy all around you. Your tail's you're trying to swat flies with your tail. That thing's never gonna hit.
Yeah, flies in the eyes that's trouble. I think what I have a hard time with too is that the teeth are not like, they look like human teeth almost. They almost look like dentures.
I'm sorry.
I
You
mean-
think you're looking at my teeth right now, and you're like, yeah,
I mean,
horse teeth.
I mean, shape wise, they're not fangs. You know what I mean? It's not like yellow cat teeth. It's
okay, I see what you're
they're
saying.
like big
They're
and like square.
They're square human
Yes.
teeth. You know, I really made. You know how dog owners are.
Yes.
they're very precious about their
Oh,
dogs.
did you insult a dog?
I was at a party and it's a place where everyone always brings their dogs. I don't have a problem with it. I like dogs. You know where I have a problem with it? And I don't even know why.
The grocery store.
Why is your
Why?
dog there?
Oh my God.
I'm here to get Progresso soup. Why am I stepping over your dog?
I can't believe, of all the rules that we follow in dignified society, no, service dogs only. Of course, service dogs should be allowed to go anywhere.
It should have as long as it has a vest on that says I'm a service
Yes.
dog. I will.
Why?
I will not stew.
Why is there
Oh my
like?
God! I haven't even made a stew joke, and we're doing a Progresso episode.
Oh my
okay,
God.
we'll get there.
We should call your stews soups.
Soups.
But there's something
I'm
that's-
souping today, baby. Get your dog out of here. And then they just come down, and the dog's on a little leash, and it's like they're basically like, I don't care about rules. I'm shopping.
I've seen a dog take a shit in a grocery store.
We're
I'm just telling you.
and your
No,
goddamn
I'm just saying, like,
poop and shit.
this-
Just save it for off-brand.
Okay, bleep
my
it out.
grandma listens to this from heaven.
That is the fear. That's why dogs shouldn't be. It's just not hygienic.
I
right?
mean, to be fair, in LA, I've seen a human poop in a grocery store. I'm not going to lie. The Rouse on Western, that place is
true.
rough. If you know, you know. I hate that phrase, and I hate that I just say it.
If you know, you know.
Because I never know. People are like, if you know, you know. And I'm like, oh, I know. I never know what
John, do you really know?
yeah, Western and La Brea, those are parallel streets.
You don't know.
You don't
Get out
know.
of here.
And you know why another reason I hate the dogs in the grocery store?
Why?
Because I like dogs.
Yeah.
But me getting mad at them makes me feel like I am in the wrong because I'm just don't want the dog there.
I agree. It feels like unsanitary.
Dogs and children, just leave them at home. Leave them at home. Okay, that felt good to get that out. All right, so the New York gang now sets up a headquarters in Brooklyn, and they start getting Sicilian imports from everywhere. They have Francesco, the guy who had left originally to go fight the war in Italy. He's still in Italy, and he's sending them olives and pomodori.
Oh.
Pomodori pelati? Peeled Italian plum tomatoes.
Yum.
And other Sicilian staples. My ex-girlfriend, who's Italian, is going to be listening to this and be like, bitch, you butchered every word you tried to say. I have everything in here, like, phonetically. I have Taormina, literally in parentheses, phonetically, every time I have it written because I
You
cannot
can't
remember how to
retain
say it.
You, me in Italy. Oh my gosh.
my
Can you
God.
imagine?
Me sleeping at the hotel.
Me texting.
You
looking at your
texting
phone, putting it
David.
back down.
Why didn't you come? Me at an Italian grocery store and there's a dog and I'm like, I gotta get out of here.
We have to go international at some point.
Yeah.
You've never left the country.
I have never left the country.
Unbelievable.
You've never left the country.
I've been like one place.
Canada. Oh, I've been to Canada.
You have?
Niagara Falls.
Oh, cool.
Maybe it was on the U.S. side. Wherever the Maid of the Mist is. Have you ridden the Maid of the Mist?
No.
It's a boat that is very misty. You get very wet. I bought a bolo tie in Canada.
Oh, that's fun.
Just what every 10-year-old boy dreams of having.
Okay, John, what do you want? A magnet with your name on it?
A little shot glass for when you go to high school and party.
Bolo tie.
Bolo tie. That bolo tie. You don't want one that says Niagara Falls? No, I want this one that just has a smiley face.
I gotta see
I'm sure
this.
it said Niagara Falls. I did. I got that bolo tie. And
Where
then
is
I
it?
came home. I'm glad you asked. I'm glad you asked. I came home and I was playing with it. I feel like I've told this on pod.
Oh.
And I was in the front yard and I threw it up in the air, got stuck in a tree, We had 2 big trees in our yard, got stuck in the tree. And I have never been one that could climb a tree or a fence.
Yeah.
I never saw it again. Never saw it again. And speaking of those trees, this is where I grew up. We lived in this house that had 2 majestic trees in the yard. That's it. 2 huge trees, one on each side of the driveway. We eventually sell the house and move. The owners come in.
Don't say it. I will literally cry if you say they cut these trees down.
You know, we joke how there's clip-clop times.
Yeah.
These were chop-chop times. Choppity chop, both trees. It is worse than that. Chopped down both trees and replanted little tree in its place.
Oh, and now I'm souping. I'm souping.
I soup every time I go home.
Those were probably 100-year-old trees.
And they're like, we just want to watch the trees grow ourselves.
I would love a tree here that if it wasn't so big and majestic and old. I want it to be tiny and willowy, and I want the
It might
trunk
not
to
survive
be
the winters of Ohio, but
1-inch diameter trunk.
yeah, you cut it open and there's a ring.
A ring.
Because it's a 1-year-old.
God, that pisses me off.
I hope those people died. Within the first year, I don't. Their hair. That's what I would always say. We always had to find ways out of things when we were young. We weren't allowed to say, I hate you to our siblings. And so we'd be like, I hate you, Nicorns.
That's cute.
I know. We were adorable.
Meanwhile, a unicorn crying
Every
out the window.
Every time you say you hate a unicorn, one horn falls off.
Yeah.
So then they just become horses.
Is that where horses come from?
And then the flies come in and get around their eyes, and they grow the teeth. Their teeth just turn yellow.
And they look in a mirror and they go, I'm hideous. I was so beautiful.
I was pretty once. I did that today looking in the mirror, man. Man, I am going.
It's really sad getting older.
Dude, what is happening
What's
to my
happening?
neck?
Dude, the neck.
The neck.
The neck.
For the first time, I was like, I could see why people do a little tippity tip.
yeah.
Tut, tut, tut.
And you know what sucks about, I'm 38. We talk about our age.
You're not 40?
John, I swear to God.
Now you
Don't
know
bleep that
how
out.
I feel about pee. Every time you mention pee, you're 43.
What sucks about being in the part of aging where you and I are, I'll just say it about me because I won't project it on you at all.
No, I'm sure I'm there.
I don't think I'd have a problem with being like a little old lady. Because, you know, then it's like you're cute. You know what I mean? Like you see a little old lady, you're not like, yuck.
I have.
Like
Ew.
Betty White. You know what I mean? It's like there's like a darlingness to being a little old lady.
No, there is. I don't
There
know if this is
is.
where you're going, and I don't mean to step on you.
No.
What is that? How do you get to that? I feel like there's like this period where you're either aging or
Yeah.
you're cute. When do you become the cute old person?
The little old dear granny.
Is it
don't
80?
know.
I think it's 80.
I feel like, oh, gosh, Sandra Bullock is like 80.
Sandra Bullock's like 57.
I think she's older. And there's
Hey,
no one who
Siri,
shocks me
how
more.
old is Sandra Bullock? Take your time, Siri.
A $200 billion company.
Yes, you did. You showed me. She's 60. God, I hate Siri. I hate Apple. No, this is a positivity. It's our 100th episode.
60 years old, crazy. Yes. When does it happen? Is it 80? I don't know.
She doesn't look like a cute old lady.
No, that's what I mean. I feel like it's later now. It might
It's
be like
80.
100.
No.
What sucks is that when you're in your 30s, 40s, but my gosh, maybe 50s, I don't know how it works. You don't look like a cute old lady yet. You just look like you did in your 20s, but shittier. You look like you did in your 20s, but like your worst day, like you've been up all night. You look like you're sick. Like it's like the worst photo of yourself when you were 27. That's how you look from 35 to 45.
On your best day.
On your best day.
I recently went to, and maybe I already mentioned this, I went to a work reunion, and we hadn't seen each other in quite a while.
Yeah.
And I told everyone, I was like, we all look like we've melted. Like, we all look like we sat in a car for too long on a hot day.
Oh, my
like,
God.
I know who you are. I know
Yeah.
your name is Robin because I remember that. But you look like a melted Robin.
You said this to Robin?
I said it to everyone. I was like, we all look like we've melted. Because we do. There's no getting around it.
Yeah.
But in 20 years, we're going to be like,
well,
God, we looked good then.
Sure. We'll look sweet. Well, yeah, we'll look cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's just this is sad. You're gonna see us one week, and me and John are both gonna be snatched.
I gotta just pin this up. You find out that's why I'm actually going to Ohio. I'm not going to Ohio.
You're getting a neck lift.
I'm getting
If you see me in a turtleneck for 3 consecutive weeks, let's just say I've made a little money, and let's just say we've made some choices.
We've made some choices.
This, my eyelids. This.
You should do. Actually, I'll do the marker thing.
Yeah, I'm just gonna give you a white crayon, and you can just go to town. Jeez Louise.
I think you're perfection.
You too as well. Al, I have notes.
So the company thrives. This is the New York team now, and they're thriving. Like I said, they're getting stuff imported in from everywhere. Then World War II comes along, and we know what that always means.
Save your pantyhose, ladies.
Sales skyrocketed.
Oh.
It's a turn of events. Things never happen that way with
That's crazy.
war.
How lucky.
They had to increase domestic production because they weren't allowed to import things again. But they did very well during the war, which is unusual. People couldn't get enough of their canned goods.
Amazing.
In 1942, during the war, they buy an old factory in Vineland, New Jersey, or Vinland, whichever it is. Someone's going to write me and say I said it wrong. So there's both. Vineland, Vinland, New Jersey. I say that like every episode. People are like, you did this wrong. That happened one time.
It like never happens.
It's like-
and we get stuff all the time wrong.
With Hershey's, I said, whatever that place is, I said it wrong.
Yes, one city was pronounced incorrectly. I'm sorry.
In 100 episodes, I'm sorry. They're going to be like, it's actually Vineglong.
The last 4 letters are silent and different.
It's just Vine. So they buy an old factory, and it's in the heartland of the Italian farmers of New Jersey. And they canned and bottled and roasted red peppers and sweet fried peppers and pepper salad. They were on a real pepper kick. Hot cherry peppers, tomato sauce, crushed tomatoes, tomato puree, and on and on.
We need some manwich.
Oh, man, I'm over it. But give me a week. According to locals, and I don't know how I feel about this, when you drove into Vineland, the whole place smelled like tomatoes.
Oh, I don't see you liking that.
That could go either way.
Yeah.
I do have like tomato scented,
like Mrs. Myers.
yeah, like dish
hand
soap or tomato vine or whatever. But I don't know if I want to like.
You know what's
Tomatoes all
funny
over.
about tomatoes? That scent that we think of tomatoes it's from the vine, not the tomato. And you just said tomato vine, so maybe you knew that. But I didn't, until I like grew tomatoes, I didn't know that. If you touch a tomato stem and smell your hands, it's the tomato smell. The smell comes from the green plant.
What do the tomatoes smell like?
Nothing.
Wow.
If you get a tomato scented hand soap, nothing.
It's the same as unscented.
I call unscented soap tomato scented. Just to share my fun
I hope
fact.
this comes up in a trivia game for someone this week. What do
hope so.
tomatoes smell like? Correct answer? Nothing. So, working with these Italian farmers was great, but as we've learned in other shows, the vegetables are seasonal. So they have a focus of what could be a year-round product. And they finally realized what that would be.
Soup.
Soup, of course. It's
Of
such
course,
a no-brainer.
of
What could we
course.
use all these vegetables for that could last all year?
Especially during a penny pinching time where fresh produce might be a little more expensive. Everyone's pinching pennies.
Everyone's pinching pennies. So they pull together family recipes and they produce a variety of soups. They have thick and hearty minestrone. Is it minestrone or minestrone?
Minestrone.
Minestrone?
I think an Italian might say minestrone.
Minestrone.
I wasn't going to do it. I'm glad you did.
And then we're like, minestrone.
Minestrone.
Minestrone, full of vegetables and beans and pasta. They developed their own version of pasta e fagioli.
Oh.
F-A-G-I.
Your favorite.
Okay, it is. With broken pasta, beans, and, I don't like this, tomato and salt pork sauce. Have you ever had salt pork?
No, I'm out.
My dad
Sharks, I'm out.
Sharks. Hello, Sharks. Is your pork not salty enough? Try my
For
dad.
that reason, I'm out.
I will give you. My dad used to get a salt pork. It is the most vile thing.
It's salty
It's just
pork?
extremely salty pork.
Gross.
Yeah.
Gross.
So after the war, the Vineland plant starts churning out, ready to serve soups, and their side hustle becomes their main hustle.
Oh, funny when that happens.
You know what happens?
What?
New product, we need a new company.
Okay.
We have a new company, we need a new name.
Because they couldn't fit that old name on the label too long.
The Uddo and...
Yeah.
See, I can't remember.
I can't remember. It was too long.
Taormina. Yeah, that's too long. So we go back to New Orleans, and there's a grocery store there in the French Quarter. And years earlier, Giuseppe Uddo had bought a pastel painting there at the store that was drawn by one of the brothers who owned the shop. And the artwork was meant to show progress through the rise of new forms of transportation. And he thought that was perfect because the name of the grocery store was Progress Grocery.
Wow.
Uddo loved the art, and he loved the name for several different reasons. The idea of progress he thought was something that would appeal both to like young people and old people. There was a popular Italian-American newspaper in New York at the time called Il Progresso, which already had like a very loyal Italian consumer base. So Uddo Taormina buy the trademark from the store for $25, and they call their new company the Progresso Italian Food Corporation. And the label for the Progresso products was based on the pastel artwork they had bought from the son years earlier.
That's great.
Yeah. And then it's all about growth. They go from soups to making beans, which is like another peasant staple. And beans, again, you kind of have to put yourself in at the time. It was kind of a novelty for Americans to think of beans as like being like a meal.
That's so funny.
I know.
Beans?
Beans? How dare you? In Italy, it was common. Like you eat beans. You have subscribed
You
to
wouldn't
like...
believe what we had for dinner at Cynthia's house. She served beans.
And then she's like, oh, she faints. And then a horse comes up and chomps on her, eats her face.
With its big yellow teeth.
Big yellow teeth.
Was recently turned from a unicorn struggling to process.
I wonder if it's the opposite. If I'm like, I love unicorns, and the horse's teeth turn white and a horn spirals out with sparkles.
You think it's reversible?
I think it's reversible.
Okay, well, how about after this we swing by the stable and test that out?
I gotta say, that is something I love about where we live.
We can swing by a stable?
Yeah.
We can.
We live like 2 miles from the Burbank Equestrian Center. And there's been times like I will be working at a cafe just down the street, and horses will clip-clop down the street in LA.
So fun. Yeah, I fed some reindeer there around the holidays.
What? That had nothing to do with anything that I was talking about.
At the Burbank Equestrian Center.
Okay. This is the third time you dropped something like you're like 14. I'm like, I don't know what the you're talking about.
There's a horse place like in Atwater also in our neighborhood. There's horses all over LA. LA is a pony town.
I got to say, that is one of the things I feel like people don't realize about LA is how many, we live by Griffith Park, which I believe is the second largest municipal park in the country.
I always say first largest. Am I wrong?
Yeah, unless the other park got smaller. I don't know how that would have happened.
They might have changed the fence.
They built one house and now it's smaller. First or second, I believe it's second. But the number of, and we both live right by it. The number of animals that I have seen in my neighborhood
Oh,
are
wild.
skunks, raccoons, possums, coyotes, horses, birds, slugs, caterpillars,
Ladybugs.
lizards,
Bees.
ladybugs, human, the craziest animal of all. But just a lot of animals. I'm always like, we're in LA. Like, no one would believe there's a raccoon on my porch.
Every night, my mom, she leaves a lot of cat food on the back door. Every night, she has a skunk, a possum, and a raccoon visit. And she has no desire to stop it. For a while, she was leaving her back door open at night so that the feral cats could come in and out. And she's found like raccoons in her home. They enter the home.
She does this after she's had one of her trademark white Russians.
Yes,
Which
exactly.
more than one person has brought up to me. They're like,
And they were like,
Marissa's mom's
"Damn."
white Russian. They're like, how did you not like comment more on that? And I was like, because we know her.
It's not surprising
It's
if you know
not
her.
super surprising. She just gets a little sleepy.
Yeah, a little sleepy. Al has just fact-checked us. Apparently, we're wrong, and it's not even a big park at all.
I mean, it says it is the second largest city park, so I don't know how they're differentiating city between municipal.
I don't acknowledge any of that, Al.
I don't receive this. All right, so like I was saying, they're introducing beans to America, and everyone's losing their minds. They're running out in the street. What the is happening? Everyone's eating beans. I've lost my place. Everything's just chaotic. And they're credited with changing the American diet with the introduction of these beans. They introduce us to the cannellini. How do you say that?
Cannellini.
Cannellini bean, the pinto bean, the chickpea, and black beans.
I mean, those are like the top 4 most popular beans.
Hats off Italy. Thank you. Hats off
Wow.
Progresso.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
We owe them our lives.
We owe them everything. Americans at this time were getting more comfortable with, quote, ethnic products. More consumers are shopping at supermarkets. And there was a debate within Progresso. They're now like selling their goods at like smaller grocery stores. Some people are like, we need to get into like the larger grocery stores. And there's some debate. Like if we go into the larger stores, the smaller ones might not be able to compete with their pricing and they may lose business because of it. But in the 40s, Progresso did make the leap into larger supermarkets. Acme was the first one that they got into. And then Frank convinced Winn-Dixie into opening an entire Italian section in the grocery store.
Wow.
And that kind of became Progresso's formula to display all their products in one space. And it started the trend for other immigrant enterprises. And it was the start of having like different ethnic food sections in the grocery stores that we see today.
Wow.
You know, Vons has their one Mexican, half of a Mexican aisle.
Yes.
They're, you know, like divided up.
For your masa.
Pardon?
Masa, like cornmeal.
Oh, I thought you meant matzo ball. I was like, that's in the Jewish section.
The truly trailblazers. I don't think enough people know this.
Well,
this should be taught in school.
That's why we have this show. Now everyone for 2 weeks is going to be talking about Progresso. Some of the things that Progresso produced that were not common at first, but are now kind of everyday items. Canned tuna in olive oil was a Sicilian favorite.
Interesting.
Pine nuts, minced clams. You love a minced clam.
Who doesn't?
Capers, not a big fan. I usually get my chicken piccata without capers.
Interesting. Too salty.
Something about them. I like to think of them as little pickleballs, but they're
Yeah.
not really. There's something a little different
They're
about
very
them.
briny.
Artichokes, another one. I could take them or leave them. I could have just the spinach dip, but they always throw it in. Breadcrumbs,
Wow. Okay.
both plain and Italian seasoned.
Oh, I could eat a bowl of breadcrumbs with a spoon.
God, and then what if you sneeze?
It's happened.
That's happened to me before. A mouthful of Ritz crackers and a sneeze is like...
Forget about it.
The breadcrumbs become the company's largest sellers. And olive oil in breadcrumbs, which was a big thing in Italian communities, gained national popularity.
Crazy.
Here. 1957, Giuseppe dies.
Oh.
I know. And after he passes away, the Uddo and Taormina clans start fighting over the control of Progresso.
Oh, no.
And as the founding father, he had really kept the ship steady. Like, there was
Yeah.
no real discord. If there was, it wasn't reported on.
This is the succession I want to see.
This is what I want to see. I want to see them on hands and knees having to lick up breadcrumbs, literally, to get the fortune. No, I love the succession we got.
I know, but I want this is a spinoff.
You know why I love the succession we got? Because it's like all the other things we watch. You watch enough like home cooking shows, it makes you feel, you start using that. You're like, you didn't let that rise enough. Or like you start to know the terms. Like for a minute, I felt like I understood the world of
The business.
of the television.
High stakes business.
Yeah, business.
I do not want to be in a family like that. That was really a stressful show.
But man, that money was...
They didn't seem happy, though. All the money in the world. Jet setting. We're in Sweden. We got a big deal to close.
But they had some nice stuff.
They did have really nice clothes.
So after he dies, you know, everyone's fighting. And then the people in charge decided that they should just sell the company instead of tear it apart.
That makes sense. Split the money.
And then over the next 30 years, it just kind of bounces around. In 1969, it's bought by Imperial Tobacco.
That does not sound quite appetizing.
Which at the time probably wasn't a big deal. Now that doesn't age well.
Sure.
But a tobacco company, womp womp. 1979, it goes to Ogden Corporation for $35 million.
That doesn't sound particularly yummy either.
I know.
Corporation, Ogden.
I know. 86, Ogden is sold to Pet Incorporated for, this is crazy. Between 1979, it sold for $35 million. 7 years later, it sells for $320 million.
Happened?
I don't know. All I know is I need to own a company because they just skyrocket. You can't fail. No company's ever failed.
And it seems really easy to make it that profitable.
Yeah.
Really easy. That's our takeaway from 100 episodes.
There you go. 1995, Pet Incorporated is acquired by Pillsbury.
Of course, yes.
And then General Mills acquires Pillsbury in 2001.
Wow.
And that's who
Would
has
you
it
just
today.
kill to be acquired?
I would just love to be...
We're acquiring John Glover for
I was going to say the
280
Pillsbury
million.
Doughboy, but I was like, I'm basically there, especially with this neck. My
Not
neck
for
is
long.
turned-
Snip,
I
snip.
gotta.
Nip tuck.
I'll be in Ohio for an undisclosed amount of time. And that's what I have on Progresso. I have a couple of fun facts. Giuseppe obviously is known for Progresso, but he was always dreaming up other enterprises. He started New Orleans' first movie theater and built a cigar rolling factory.
Okay.
But he wasn't
Follow
a great
your passion.
He wasn't a great follow-up guy. So he'd start these things and then they would kind of just fizzle out. And then there was a sentence that just said,
Hey, where should we put the cigars we've rolled up? I've lost interest.
I don't smoke, so bother someone else with your problems.
The popcorn machine's out of popcorn. Figure it out. I've moved on.
Apparently he's trying to start a candle making factory, but New Orleans was so hot, they all melted. Womp womp.
God bless him.
And those are my fun facts. That's what I have on this 100-year-old company.
Wow, that's really fun.
I hope that you've learned something from us. You love that Marisa loves pee. She has a pee fetish.
I don't love pee. I don't want to wash my hair with pee.
She's clearly obsessed with pee.
I'm
A
just
43-year-old woman who can't get enough pee.
Check your pumps.
Check your
At
pump.
your next Airbnb.
I will say the soup of all the things in the store is
Yeah.
like one of the few self-serve things that does usually have a lid.
Thank God for that.
Because that open salad bar down at the Gelson's by us, which is an upscale grocery store,
Quite fancy.
used to have, and I think may still have, an olive bar that was literally 3 feet from the sliding doors that you walk into. So every time the door opened, I wish you could see like the image like they would show during COVID, where you see like the particles that you can't see with the naked eye. Just
Sure.
the stuff that flew onto those olives.
I mean, with the wooshing too of the automatic doors, blowing in even just all like the city garbage.
Yeah.
Garbage mist.
I don't know if that's like that everywhere. All of California has a law about you have to get swooshed in the doors. Like you walk into 7-Eleven, and so like walking through a mini hurricane, it's like I brace myself for
What
it.
is that for?
I think it's a California. I thought someone said, "Oh, that's a California."
But
like
what objective?
they're tracking us. I don't
It
know.
is really weird because it doesn't seem to be related to air conditioning at all.
No.
It just like you're like suddenly Beyonce on tour, like your hair is being blown back like at 80 miles an hour,
Yeah.
walking through an automatic door. There's like a thing above you that blows on you.
It's like the Beyonce law. It's like you can't go into a store without like looking like you're doing the Halo video.
Al, do you not know what we're talking about?
I always thought it was to keep insects out.
That might
Might
make
be.
sense, but
It's
you think there's like a little skeeter like waiting at the door, like, here's my chance, someone's walking up.
whoosh. It's also something that you really notice because your hair gets messed up. So
Hey, Al's beard might get a bit unkempt.
it might not be on everyone's radar. All right, guys, there's Progresso. What a ride it's been. I'm sweating. I
We're
got to
worn
get out
out.
of here. I got to get to Ohio.
Your preferred red-eye flight. I wonder how
It's
far.
not my preferred red eye flight. It is the only direct flight offered.
I wonder how far your bag will be over.
It's never over on the way there, just on the way back.
Okay, well,
And
we'll
then,
see.
as we know, you just slip a little money to the curbside guy. One of many fun things that have come out of the last 100 episodes. We've got Hazingas. We've got just a million little things. We've built a lovely community that is expanding daily.
If you haven't checked out the Patreon, we encourage you to do that. It's more of this and a lot more that you're not getting here.
Yeah, we'll make a whole pee channel for Marisa to talk about in Discord. She can post pictures.
Send me places that you think people pee.
I thought you were going to say, send me pictures of your pee. And I will tell you by the color if you're healthy or not.
Al just made a realization. What is that, Al?
The blasts of air from stores
California law.
is called an air door or an air curtain.
Okay.
And actually acts as a second type of door, keeping out dust, dirt, and pests, as supermarkets often
You think that's
automated
keeping
entry
out a
stores.
rat?
Well, not LA pests.
Interesting. Oh, little Ratatouille's trying to get into the 7-Eleven. Can't catch a break.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm sure they still find a way. All right, well, before we go, I like to usually give shout-outs to our Freaks of the Week from our Insta Egg, but we're banking a few episodes, so I don't have those right now. But since this is the 100th episode, I just want to make anyone who's ever listened to the show once or who listens every week, who listens to On Brand, who listens to Off Brand, who writes us about brands they love and why they love them, who has told us that they got a trivia question right in a trivia game they played the night before, or that their family all worked on the Insta Egg together, or just sends us lovely letters or notes or comments over the last 2 years. It's really humbling, and I know Marisa and I don't know what that word means, but for me, it's humbling. So I just want to say thank you to all of you. And for me, you're all our Freaks of the Week.
Oh, and I will give a general shout out as well to everybody who has supported the pod, whether you left us a review on Apple Podcasts. If you haven't, I encourage you to do that. Some people have written to us and said that they've told their friends about the show. And it's just kind of, we have a lovely community here of listeners. It's really sweet. This has been a great hobby for 100 episodes.
Hey, we get paid now.
Yeah,
We
Patreon.
actually- well, still,
Yeah.
it's all folded
Yeah,
in.
it's
We
all
wouldn't have the
folded in.
Patreon if we didn't have On Brand.
That's a great point. And this will
Maybe
be
we
paying
should
for
be
our
humble.
neck lifts.
Yeah, I definitely need a new tier on the
We need a
Patreon,
neck
the
lift
neck tier. No one has done the storage unit tier, but we got to take care of these necky necks.
We gotta
for
take care of these necks.
Episode 200, I want to look unrecognizable.
We are public figures now.
We're public figures.
All right, with that, whether this is episode 199, not sure. We're going to have some remote episodes coming up. Lots of fun. If you have any thoughts about Progresso, we want to hear. Check us out on Instagram at OnBrandThePod, TikTok at OnBrandThePodcast. Write to us there. You can see clips from the show, little supplemental things. We love to hear from you guys. We're always down to chat. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back next week with an all-new episode.
And just remember, we may go off topic, but we'll always be on brand.
Bye.
Goodbye.